Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you here on this Wednesday. That means Dylan Sinn's with us from the Fort Worth Journal-Gazette. Dylan, how are you, brother?
I'm good, Jim. Glad to be back.
Hey, how was Notre Dame, the spring game? I know you went up to that last weekend.
It was a lot of fun. There was a ton of students in attendance, which was good. It was kind of a game-like atmosphere. And, I mean, Notre Dame is going to be a good team, as usual. They have a lot of talent on that team. And they are going to have another good season next year. They just have to get their quarterback and offensive line settled. Those are the two positions, really, where they're still looking to figure out who's going to be the guy for them. And offensive line, obviously, they're losing 4 starters from one of the best lines in the country. 3 of those starters were drafted. So there's question marks, but they have a ton of talent.
You know, we haven't talked about it, but Indiana and Notre Dame are scheduled to play. Now, you'll be 66 years old and collecting retirement when that game comes around. But, yeah, they're scheduled to play. I was at the last game that they played.
In 1991?
Yes. Yeah, the year 1991. Yes, I was there. Fresh out of college and was actually working for WLKY at CBS in Louisville. Was there, me and Rick Van Hoos. But Trent Green was quarterback for Indiana. And the game was a lot better than the score shows. I think it was like 49-27, the final score, but it was a much better game than that. Notre Dame was better, but it was a great atmosphere. That's a game that should be played. But, of course, Indiana has been so far behind in football that it was not worth that game ever being scheduled. How that one happened to have been scheduled, I don't remember because it was great. But, yeah, it's time now. I wish it wasn't so far out. But, you know, we're talking Notre Dame, and most teams schedule pretty far out.
Yeah. That was one thing that I was hoping during the pandemic would kind of carry over once the pandemic was over, was just scheduling these games almost on a whim, right? Like you find a team and you play them. And that's
because they acted like before it's like, oh, well, that could never happen. That's an impossibility. Right. We can't do that. Well, they showed they can and will do that when needed.
Right. But they as soon as it was possible, they went right back to scheduling these games 10 years out, which is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, 2030 and 2031 for IU and Notre Dame, including a trip for Notre Dame to Memorial Stadium, which has not happened since 1950. So yeah, that is going to be one heck of a party when they come to Bloomington. And hopefully by then IU will have maybe a Big Ten championship under its belt. You know, that's the way they're building, wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, like I said, I wish it wasn't so far out, but there is no reason to think that 9 years. But who knows? I'm not going to sit here and predict what the hell Indiana football is going to be like 9 years from now, because I promise you, 2 years ago, no one was going to say that now Indiana is going to be competing for a Big Ten East title, and there's no reason that they're not competing for that this right now. And there's no way I would have said that 2 years ago or anybody else 2 years ago. It's such a jump, but they have, and I'll be honest with you, the way Tom Allen has done it, how he's done it, not saying that you can stay there because it's such a tough deal in the Big Ten East, but there's no reason not to with how he's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that he has built it kind of one step at a time. There hasn't been – last season was obviously a big step in the right direction, but so was the previous year. And you could feel it building. So he's built it in such a way that, like, they don't feel like they're ahead of schedule or anything like that. They feel like they're building consistently. And you can see that reflected in recruiting. The recruiting keeps increasing steadily, keeps getting a little bit better. And that's the one thing you need to do as a program is you can't rush this. It has to, if you're building a program kind of from the bottom up like IU was, you have to do it in stages. You have to make sure that you're getting the guys that can sustain it. And that's what Tom Allen seems to be trying to do. And so far it's working.
Well, every time I turn around, there's another elite player recruit that has Indiana in its top 5 with other elite programs. That's the difference in the world right there. Who was it? Tim threw up there, asked us about if we've hit Wahlburgers yet. I have not. So they opened up in Carmel, up north of Indianapolis. I've not had a Wahlburger. I guess they're still going strong. I guess I remember when the show came out, but I have not. Dylan, have you had one? I can't imagine that they're. I'm a Whataburger guy, peeps. Man, I'm not switching my allegiance here. I'm a Whataburger guy, not Wahlburger. Whataburger, man. Whataburger. I don't have those either. So that's not doing me any good, but hopefully one day. But no, I have not been there. Alan says the new assistant for IU basketball, is he simply filling the spot Roberts left, even though it's a different title?
I don't believe he's filling. He's not. I believe they hired, it was a director of player personnel or something like that. Let's see.
Yeah, I was not ready for that question. My bad.
Yeah, because they hired him from the Mad Ants, the Fort Wayne team up here. And I'm trying to remember.
And actually, it's actually more of an administrative position.
It is, yes.
And
I don't
Mike Roberts wants to coach. Mike Roberts wants to coach. He wants to be a coach. He wants to go through the rigors of the recruiting and all that, and that's what he wants. And Thad Matta's role is truly administrative role, and I think that they are. But that's also a role that a lot of guys do to learn, because there's a lot of things you have to learn as a coach. You need to learn. You have to know all those things, at least a semblance of them, I should say.
Yeah, they just hired Mike Stump from the Mad Ants as the recruiting analyst, and he's a Cathedral grad, and he was previously he is a Kentucky graduate, and he was a manager. He's a young guy, but he is the new recruiting analyst who had previously worked as an assistant at Cathedral, assistant coach at Cathedral, and then as an analyst for the Mad Ants.
Wow. But there's someone else that has that. That's, man, people are just basketball people. I was just kidding about that. So there you go. Yeah, Chris mentions IU football's had a great turnaround. Yep, absolutely. Boy, you're showing yourself there, mass gaining guy. He misses the days of watching IU basketball on WTTV4. That's like in the 70s and early 80s. That's our old friend John Leskowski and Chuck Marlowe. Yeah, those were a long time ago. That was back when I think when the cable first happened to those of us that lived in the country. But yeah, it's on the program today with Cal Neddenriep would join us, Bob Kravitz. So we'll talk about all that and plenty more. What have you been up to, Dylan? Besides, I know you went up to the Notre Dame game, but what else is going on up that way? The recruiting, the run-in slam. How much time did you get to spend there?
I spent a fair amount of time there on Sunday. I was at the Notre Dame game on Saturday, but I was able to see a lot of Sunday's game. I saw Jalen Washington play a couple of his games, and I'll tell you, that kid is good. He's worth the hype. But also,
is he the best undecided guy in the state right now in Indiana?
I think he might be the best guy in the state, period. Decided or not, he is an extremely talented player. The one thing I wasn't expecting from him that I did see was he has a little bit of a touch from 15 to 17 feet. He can make that jumper. He's a good free throw shooter, and he's got confidence in it. So the length and athleticism there are obvious, but he's got touch around the rim and from 15 feet out, which is something that I didn't expect. And that's the recruitment that is going to be huge for Purdue and Indiana in that 22 class. They're both in on him. He's in on both of them. He has them right up there in his top couple. So both of them are gonna pursue him heavily, and whoever gets him is gonna get an extremely talented player.
Purdue's got like, I don't know, 8 kids from Indiana right now. I mean, they've offered and gotten virtually half the roster is Indiana kids, which is cool. But some of that, I'm like, yeah. But I like the fact that you just said that he could be the best player in the state. Indiana does not have to get all the kids from Indiana. They just have to get the best kids from Indiana. They missed on Trey Kaufman. That's a miss. But this is not. And this is one that I think they're very much alive on. And I think they end up with him. But that's just a guess and way down the road. But that's the one you have to get. You've got to get him. You can miss. Trey Kaufman was a miss. That's a miss. That's not going to not be a miss. But those other ones, all those other guys that Purdue has offered, I think they're going to be great role players. I'm not discounting them as players, but I don't think those are not the guys that are going to make or break your program. Right. Jalen Washington, that's a guy that makes or breaks your program when he's within the state. That's the guy you got to get. So to me, that's where the pressure is. I don't care. It's nice to see all those other kids. Again, Trey Kaufman was a miss, but that's on someplace else. That's not on Mike Woodson. So and I've got zero concern.
Right. Well, the thing with Trey Kaufman for Purdue is that the fact that they got him and they got first allows them to go about offering these other role players because they have the star power already. So you can offer these role players and get those guys in there that are going to help your team and be around for 4 or 5 years. Right. So that getting Kaufman was really important to kind of building their program in that way. And that's why it was such a huge miss for IU, because not only did IU not get him, but your rival goes and gets him and helps build their program.
Yeah. I'm just not convinced how he's not a one and done. That's for sure.
No, I don't think so. I don't think either he or First is a one and done.
He's got a lot to add to his game because he prefers to play outside. He doesn't really like to get in there and mix it up. He wants to be outside. So he's got some improving to do there, which that's fine. But I like where Indiana is. They're fine. There's going to be so much stinking turnover that I keep talking about that next season. There is no clue. I have no clue how many new faces are going to be on that roster. I've got an idea of a couple that are going to leave, but I promise you there will be at least 3 that leave that, well, didn't see that coming. So, hey, we got to hit a break. Cal Neddenriep's going to join us. Bob Kravitz is on the program today as well. Plenty to talk about, as you can see. You guys are hitting us up on the text line. Forrest correctly pointed out that he was a manager for Kentucky basketball. Okay. That helps a little bit. Just kidding. Let's see. Tim's talking about, did you see the boy he caught a Dodger home run? Then the father made him throw it back because they were Cubs fans. Yes. Hey, I love that, but I didn't see it. We'll talk about that when we come back, though. I love that. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. We're back with more right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or
I did see that. So the home run was like 10 rows deep in the stands.
Oh, that is amazing.
The kid is probably like 4, right? And so this dad, the kid catches it. Dad picks him up and like carries the kid to the wall and then tells him, throw it. And the kid throws it back over the wall. Fantastic.
Oh my gosh. I bet that crowd went absolutely nuts. I'd be surprised if the Cubs did not just load him up.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%.
That is freaking awesome. Can you find that may be tough, but John, if you could find that clip.
It was all over Twitter. I'm assuming
I can get it put into the
find it.
Thing.
So that's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. And they had it helped the Cubs. The Cubs won. They swept the Dodgers yesterday, a doubleheader.
This stinking team here. Stinking.
Are they still
at least they moved up. Nope, they moved up. They're in the middle of the pack.
All right.
I looked yesterday. Let's see, where are they?
Yeah, they are. Okay, sorry. They're in 4th now.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because they're not not that far out either.
No, they're three. The Cubs and Reds are virtually tied, and they're 3.5 games out of first, tied for third.
Yeah, playing under 500 baseball.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the main thing that's been going on with me this week is that the Fort Wayne minor league baseball team had opening day last night.
Oh,
Hey,
the Mats!
Bats.
The Tin Caps.
The Ants.
Bats
Oh,
got
right.
their ass kicked.
It's the Tin Caps that are the minor league baseball team.
Yeah, it's the foot basketball team. What about the Bats, John?
I said the Bats lost their 6th straight opening day game last night.
Really?
6 straight.
That's weird because they're a good freaking franchise. Well, they used to be.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they're a part of the Reds.
That's because they're a Reds franchise.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
Golly, they used to be Cardinals.
All right.
Josh Van Meter played for the Bats.
Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Sam's Family of Restaurants. Fresh, local, family.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday. Joined by Dylan Sinn, as always, from the Fort Worth Journal-Gazette. Fort Wayne. Always do that. Rivals has a top 150 camp. They've only got like 8 of them in the country. One of those stops is this weekend in Indianapolis. Don't go to Annapolis, Maryland. Indianapolis. No, it's Indianapolis at Ben Davis High School. So that should be fantastic. A ton of football talent right here. There's only 8 of these stops around the country. Atlanta, places like that. Indianapolis is one of those this weekend. So that's going on. I'll be up there for that. We'll get more information about that as well. But there's just tons of stuff going on. There's the Hoosier Gym is having something. No, that's next week. There's some kind of all-star game this weekend. Man, it's just, I'm like, golly. Not only is there something, there's some things every weekend. I'm like, I can't, my daughter's prom. I'm like, I can't be in every place at the same time. But it's gotten busier since the season seems to have worn down. Cal Neddenriep joining us now. Cal, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. I was just talking about it seems like it's gotten busier since the busy time of the season has gotten over now because we've got AAU, we've got spring sports, we've got proms and all this stuff going on. AAU, 10 tournaments at the same time going on every week. I'm like, geez, I'm busier now than I thought I was, but I was busy. I can't imagine you with all these going on. I was like, man, there's stuff going on at the Hoosier Gym coming up. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's social media makes everything seem like it's everything's all happening at once. I know that, so it's good to take a break from it. Once in a while, and I was texting somebody the other day. It's like the hype season is in full effect. Also, it's which is fine. I mean, it's good to have it back, and it's just it kind of is what it is. But yeah, good commitment last week from Braden Smith from Westfield going to Purdue, and gotta like that if you're a Purdue fan. I can't remember. I don't think he had committed last week when we talked, but picked up his first offer from Purdue and decided that that's all the information he needed. He jumped on it, and I think good for him. He was going to get a lot more high major offers, in my opinion. So, if you know what you want to do, then good for you. I mean, that's, I think, a good choice and a good fit for him.
I was going to ask you that exact thing, Kyle. Is that were you surprised that he committed as early as he did, considering that he did seem like he was going to get a lot of other high major offers coming up here, because it seemed like his recruitment was kind of just about to take off.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit. I kind of thought he would wait through the summer to figure out what all of his options might be. And I know he had Zoom calls set up with Villanova and Gonzaga, and IU had shown some initial interest, hadn't fully got there yet with the new staff, but Purdue had been recruiting him for a little while, and then here in the last few weeks really kind of ramped up their interest in him. When I talked to him last week, though, he said he kind of, once he got that offer, he started making some calls, and his family is pretty well connected too, as far as, knowing his mom is the girls basketball coach at Westfield. So, they're pretty well connected into the coaching world, and had some people they reached out to just to talk about, what goes into making a decision now instead of later. And, they knew, it's pretty easy. Purdue's pretty established, I think, as kind of knowing what they're about. So I think they felt good from that perspective on knowing what they were getting into. The only thing I think, is what you said, Dylan. I mean, if you go through the summer, maybe you have more options. You have some things to weigh Purdue against, but, they're kind of in a situation too where, I think these kids in the 2022 class, if you have a good option there, you kind of want to jump on it, because you don't know, with kind of the limited opportunities in some aspects with the extra year of eligibility and not knowing what rosters might look like beyond next year. If you have something there you want to jump on, I think it's probably a smart decision. So it felt like, when I talked to him the night before he actually made the announcement public, but, he felt like, he was in a position where, he knows what he's getting into. Purdue's close to home, so it made sense to go ahead and do it. But I was a little bit surprised. I thought, and he even said, he's like, I always thought he wasn't necessarily a Purdue fan growing up. He was an IU fan. So he kind of felt like, he never saw himself kind of becoming a Purdue player until, he got into high school and that became an option for him. But really good play. And him and Fletcher Lawyer in the same backcourt, I think, is just really intriguing if you're a Purdue fan, because both those guys kind of see things happen a step ahead. They're just very very good fit. The only question with Braden, I think, was his size. I think that was what kept people maybe from jumping on him earlier, but very creative. He's similar to, I think, Luke Brown in that sense, where he's a creative point guard, but also a shooter. And I think he's more athletic than Luke Brown. So, I think that's a good comparison, but I think he's, maybe a little bit different that way in his athleticism. So I really, when I step back and look at it, I just think it's a really good decision by him, and I think smart of Purdue to offer him.
Yeah, I think that he definitely wanted to stay in state. You mentioned he grew up an IU fan. Where he lives, he's kind of between everything, so everything is relatively close. I'm wondering if an IU offer was going to come. There's been so much emphasis on their guards already. They have a ton of them, new staff. I think it's kind of a timing issue for him with IU. And Purdue is ready. They've got things lined out, and like me and Dylan were talking earlier, man, they've made a run at getting this IU or a core of Indiana kids, which is fine. Indiana just needs to land the elite players, and we were talking about Mr. Washington and the guys like that. But no doubt that Braden he's just a tremendous player, and he's going to be fun to watch wherever he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's IU's not, I think, who knows? I mean, maybe they would have offered him at some point, who knows? But, I think it's just, it's not necessarily IU missed out on him necessarily. It's that Purdue kind of jumped in with both feet, and they knew he was the player they wanted, and they basically told him, hey, you're going to come in, we want you to run the show, and that's pretty enticing, I think, if you're Braden Smith. So, IU probably, they just weren't ready to do that yet, and not saying, who knows how it works out. IU's obviously in a pretty good place right now with their recruiting, I think, and only gaining momentum, I think. So, it's just, I know people want to, paint a broad brush on every single recruitment, and I don't think you can do that necessarily. But I do think I do think it's going to work out well for Purdue and for Braden Smith. I know how hard he works at it and what kind of player he is, and watched him play since his freshman year. And he was, even as a freshman, he weighed like 140 pounds, and you could see what kind of player he could be eventually. So just I think it's a good commitment, and it will be fun to see what he's able to accomplish. Like I said, especially playing with Fletcher Lawyer, who I think is just a tremendous shooting guard, and he also fits the Purdue mold, I think, really well. As Dylan's seen him play a lot. I mean, he's got that intangible to him that is pretty special.
Who's the best player? Both of you guys. Who's the best player? Obviously, we talked about in Washington, but who's the best uncommitted player left in the state besides him?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's Jalen Washington is kind of head and shoulders above a lot of these guys, but because there are some guys, as we've talked about, that have committed really early. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Kyle, because it's another solid class. 2021 was one everyone was looking at, but there are some really solid kids in 2022.
Yeah, I would say, Washington obviously got that North Carolina offer. He's the big time, national prospect in that class. We've known that for a while. I saw Eric Bossi did a little piece on him here this past weekend. And, he's definitely, when you watch him play during the high school season, he's become more of kind of a spot up, face the basket. And I think he always was that, but really you can see him becoming that. It's not hard to envision him doing that beyond even the college level with his size and his shooting ability. Not the most explosive guy in the world, but he'll do that very well. And obviously he's got a lot of size. So he's definitely the guy. But, that 2022 class, I think, Leland Walker from North Central, very explosive guard who has some high major offers, some, mid-major offers. So, I think he kind of pops off the screen when you watch him play, in person. He's just very explosive. Again, he's not he's only probably 6'1" or so. He's probably about the Braden Smith size. But he's got Xavier Offer and a few Providence and some other ones. So I think, to me, he's maybe the most intriguing. He's explosive, fun to watch, really good point guard. Charlie Williams is a guy from Carmel who's, 6'9". So I could see him becoming more and more intriguing for high majors as he gets stronger. And he's a guy who can also step out and shoot it some. He made the Indiana All-Star, the junior All-Star team. So with his size, I always thought he was a guy that, as he gets better and better, he's going to be more, intriguing. Sometimes the late bloomers are the bigger guys, and the guards are the guys who step in as freshmen and they're ready to go. But maybe they plateau a little bit. So I think, those two are two, at least here locally, that I think are, in the discussion to be high major players. 2022 is a really good class. It's not probably as deep as 2021, but it's still pretty strong. 2023, I think is maybe not quite as strong, at least at this point. But I think those are a couple of guys, and there's others I think that have already committed, like CJ Gunn or Deontay Davis. But it's a class. Tayshawn Comer, I know as well from Cathedral, has played really well. I wouldn't be surprised to see his recruitment kind of explode a little bit too. And he's also an Indiana junior All-Star. So, those are a few I think, kind of yet to be seen. We'll see what happens throughout the summer with those guys.
I noticed the Noblesville job is open, boys basketball.
Yeah. Again, John Peckinpah. Yeah. John Peckinpah was there for just 2 years, and, it's a job. You look at it, it's like, who's your, the HCC conference, a really good conference, and, great facilities. They're building new facilities out there. This decision for him to go to Kokomo, more about, his family situation. His wife is the girls coach at Kokomo. It's a great program too. And they've kind of had a down few years here, but, that so that I think that was part of the deal for him to get out of Noblesville and move on to Kokomo. But that leaves a really, and also Hamilton Southeastern is open right now too in that same conference. So 2 really good jobs, and a lot of, I think a lot of people will be interested. I know people are interested in those 2 jobs. And Noblesville's got some good talent coming back, and I know a good feeder system, coming through. Not necessarily feeder system, but players in the feeder system who are good players. So, that's I think it's a kind of one of those sleeping giant type of programs. And obviously Dave McCullough had a lot of success there for a lot of years, and as was kind of left under, terms that didn't sit well with a lot of Noblesville people, even now. So, but there's been some time between then, and I think, hopefully they'll find the right fit there. But yeah, Peckinpah, I think, will do a good job at Kokomo. He's a young guy, energetic. I think they made a good hire there at Kokomo to bring him in.
Also, I noticed the 4-state All-Star game of sorts. I don't know what the name of it is, but coming up between Indiana, Ohio. I forget who all's in that, but that looks like that's the Indiana roster is pretty loaded. That's a pretty good team that they got there. I forget what high school they're playing that at.
They'll be at Lawrence North. That's Tony Leach puts that on the Prep Ball Stars Midwest Challenge, I believe it is. And he's got Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin are the other teams coming in. And that's basically a full day. They're going to do a full day event. Try to get out there for a little bit of that, at least for some of it. I think he has six or seven Indiana All-Stars who are playing in that game. Yeah, I think 6. And then he has some other good players who like Jaden Brewer, who from Ben Davis, who probably could have been on that team if he would have played the full season. I just say kept him from playing the full season, but then he got eligible through the court system. But so he's playing in that. A few others, good players. Indiana's got a pretty loaded team, but I know he said, Team Michigan has a Michigan State and a Michigan recruit scheduled to be here, and then a kid who's going to IUPUI who's a good player. In Wisconsin and Illinois, kind of similar. They have a few Division I players coming in, so should be a fun day. I think it's $16 for the full day, and get a little basketball. I think it's 500 capacity maximum, and then our guys at Front Runner Media are doing the live streaming for that. So if you're interested in, it's all seniors. It's not an AAU event. It's basically all seniors, and they have an unsigned senior event in the middle of the afternoon too. So, there's more information on that if you IndyStar.com, and then Tony at Prep Ball Stars has stuff posted too. So if you're interested in going to that.
It's just tons of stuff going on. Like I said, this week, and that's this weekend. There's the Rivals Top 150 camp is also at Ben Davis High School. You probably won't have a chance to get out to that. That's going on Saturday and Sunday as well. And I'm trying to think what else is happening this weekend.
Mother's Day.
There's that. At least that's on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, at least that's on Sunday. You can put that off till then, but tons going on. I know you're going to be busy, man, as always. Anything else that you've got going on that people need to know about?
Well, yeah, speaking of Mother's Day, every year, the last 3 years, I do a Mother's Day story, Sports Mom of the Year story, and I get tons of submissions, and it's a really fun thing. I used to do this at my old paper in Missouri and decided to bring it back, and it's been fun to do. I get a lot, like I said, I think the winner this year, I think I got between 15 and 20 submissions for her, and all really heartfelt submissions, and so doing the interview for that today, tomorrow actually, and I've got another story to go with it too. That's I think people will be interested in reading too. So that's been a fun thing. I think we forget about the moms in our life sometimes who and I think about my own mom who going through a cancer battle this past year, and all she did when I was growing up as a young athlete and young man. So it's a good chance, I think, to recognize those moms, and and hopefully I think people have enjoyed reading that. And Kathy Logan was our winner last year. Her husband Paul Logan, the North Central AD, who passed away from the COVID-19 just a month before that, and so I think it's a neat thing. At least I enjoy doing it, and I think from the feedback and submissions I've got, people seem to enjoy it as well. So that's kind of a special thing. That's kind of taking up some of my week this week, and but I enjoy that, going through all those and trying to pick a winner out of all those. It's tough to pick one, but we include all the submissions as well online. So looking forward to people reading that this weekend.
I am looking forward to reading it, man. Make sure you do as well. Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star. Cannot thank you enough, man. I'm looking forward to reading that and much more. Stay busy.
Yeah.
Thanks for
no
joining
problem.
us,
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks,
The
Kyle.
great Kyle Neddenriep from Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We've got plenty more. Don't worry, Bob Kravitz is going to be with us as well. We got lots more to talk about. We'll be doing it when we come back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda right after this.
Thinking about retirement?
Tons going on.
Jim, is your phone acting weird again? Because I haven't heard any of your phone messages go off, like when I send you break notifications.
I got one at 9:35.
Oh, okay.
It may not have gone. It may not have gone.
Down.
Maybe they are.
I got
Yeah,
you.
they are. They are.
And I've got the video pulled up if you want to use it for any reason. I got it downloaded and put into StreamYard. The baseball.
What was that?
The Cubs fan.
Oh yeah.
He threw the ball back.
Got to, man.
All you gotta do is call for it, and I'll put it up there.
Damn.
Jim, something we could talk about.
Something like that.
Yes, sir.
Jim, something we could talk about at some point is Kyle was talking about this, and it got me thinking. Basically, so that Braden Smith committed to Purdue, and the idea is that Purdue is kind of a known commodity, and if you go to Purdue, you know what you're getting, and how valuable that is to a program. We can talk about that a little bit at some point if you're looking for something to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because IU doesn't have that. Not now. Maybe they will in a few years, but not now. And Painter's just been there for so long at Purdue, and they've had two coaches in 40 years that you know what you're getting. So I think that's really the valuable in recruiting, especially for these in-state guys.
Well, especially with the kids that are going to Purdue now are different than the kids that are going to Indiana right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all comes back to there's no culture at Indiana right now.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing that Woodson has to reinvigorate.
I saw one sentence yesterday in an interview with Mike Woodson that I didn't even finish the rest of it, not because that turned me off. I was just too busy, but it was like one of the opening sentences, and I just kind of chuckled and laughed. And it was about the books that was behind him on a shelf while he's sitting in his office. He goes, "Oh, those were some books Archie was reading." I was like, wow. Whoa. I was like, geez. I know how bad he sucked. I can see it. And people just thought I was an a-hole. But I'm like, I hope everybody now can see how bad he sucked. He's a fraud. I'm like,
coming back.
2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by German American Bank. Hoosiers banking with Hoosiers.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It is Wednesday. That means we're halfway through. Dylan Sinn's with me from the Fort Wayne Journal and Gazette. What were we talking about in the break?
Talking about culture at
yes.
IU and Purdue. And we were talking.
You brought up a great point. No, you brought up a great point, which led us to that.
Right. And the
Which
point
was,
that I
go
wanted
ahead.
to make, and this was something that I thought about when we were talking with Kyle Neddenriep, was Braden Smith committed to Purdue, and Kyle talked about how if you go to Purdue, you know what you're getting. So as soon as he got that offer, it was like, oh, okay, well, I have this Purdue offer on the table. I know what I'm getting, and he committed. And I think that's something that not every team has that. Not every team has that kind of, if you get an offer, you know what you're getting. If you go play there, you know what Matt Painter expects of you. You know what kind of basketball they play, and you know how they try to go about winning and how they use their players. And they've just done it the same way for so long and had success the same way for so long. And I think that is a huge boost for recruiting, especially some of these guys, in-state guys that turn out to be more role players, because they know that Matt Painter has a track record of getting the most out of some of these role players. Sasha Stefanovic, Ryan Klein, guys like that over the last few years were not highly rated recruits, but they have gone in there and been extremely important players for Purdue. And I think that IU just doesn't have that, at least right now. And I think one of the main things that Mike Woodson has to do in his tenure here as IU coach is rebuild the idea of, here's how we play basketball at IU. I can use you to the best of your ability, no matter who you are. I'm going to get the most out of you. Matt Painter has developed a reputation as the guy who gets the most out of you, especially if you are a 3-star recruit. So Mike Woodson has to go about doing the same thing, because you can get some 5 stars here and there, but IU is not Kentucky or Duke where you can fill your team with 5 stars. So once they have 2 or maybe 2 5 stars on their roster, you have to go about filling the rest of your roster with guys who can contribute for 3 or 4 years. And those are the guys that Purdue has gotten over IU over the last couple of years. And IU needs to start building their roster with those guys.
Well, the thing that has gotten, in my opinion, Purdue over the hump right now is because the last 6 years, and we could go back further, but the last 6 years of Indiana specifically has been horrific recruiting-wise. Tom Crean lost the state, so boom, that allowed Purdue to really just grab that hold that Indiana has long held. Not that Purdue wasn't able to get guys. I mean, that's not what I'm saying, but they lost the hold of owning the South, owning certain parts of it. And now that identity has gone. With Archie Miller, there was zero identity whatsoever. And Purdue has long held that identity. It didn't change. They've always used those type of guys. They have the roster set up the way it needs to be right now to continue moving forward. Indiana's is in a complete rebuild kind of sorts. Not a rebuild, but putting pieces in place. They don't have that. Retooled. Yes, and retooled, and you've got to get it leveled out to where your roster is manageable. I don't know how manageable they are as where people are as far as the years and all of that, where Purdue is, again, ahead of the game because it's kind of laid out. It's not a problem that can't be solved quickly now, especially with transfers and all that, but you don't want to be a transfer school. Indiana has to get to where they're getting these Braden Smiths. You've got to have those kids, but they've got one. I mean, you've got Christian Lander, who's probably going to be here for another year. It needs development and all that, but it will get there. Dane Fife will get it there. I think Indiana is going to be a much better mix. 3 years from now, it is going to be that mix of what you see at Purdue with the elite players they have not been getting. And that has been the difference for Indiana basketball, is not getting and developing the elite players. Because right now, even though Purdue does a great job of recruiting and how they are recruiting, look at the NBA. How many players in the NBA that are from Purdue? How many are from Indiana? Still, it's not even close. And that's with Indiana not having things completely in line. Indiana will always get there. They've got to get it lined out.
Right. And that's the thing, is that Mike Woodson has done a good job so far of making sure they have the players to fill out a roster for next year. And they have plenty of talent for next year, but it's going to be beyond next year. How do you build the roster? Because they've gone about doing it with transfers so far this year. Getting Tamar Bates, I think, was huge from the kid that decommitted from Texas, for borderline 5-star recruit now. Getting him was huge because that's a guy who's going to be there for 2 or 3 years at least, and who's a very talented player. But then you bring in guys like Xavier Johnson and Miller Kopp, those are good guys to have right now, but they're not going to stick around because they don't have that much eligibility left. So you have to start building through recruiting. And I think that's Mike Woodson, now that he has the roster settled for next year, essentially, he can go about hitting the recruiting trail hard, because those 22 and 23 classes are going to be huge for him. He's going to need to make those classes good to keep the momentum that he has right now, because he has momentum right now. And he has built that through what he's done for the first month of his tenure. But you need to keep that going. There's no rest. You need to make sure that keeps going.
Yeah, Sid hit us up on the Andy Mohana hotline. Says maybe if IU can beat Purdue in basketball for a change, kids will see IU in a different light. That's fair statement. But
not wrong.
I promise you though, how fun are these games going to be now that you have a staff? You've got Dane Fife, you've got Mike Woodson. They know all about it. Archie Miller may not have even heard of Purdue until he got here. It's back to being what college sports should be about, especially rivalries. You need rivalries. It's going to be fun. And buddy, when they beat them that first time, whether it's the first game next year, it's just going to be on from then on. It should be. You need that, whether it's in conference, in state, in whatever, interstate, Indiana, Kentucky. That's got to come back. That game has got to come back for college basketball. It's crap that it's not going on because of Calipari's ego or whatever is causing this. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. North Carolina and Duke should always play. Louisville and Kentucky should always play. Indiana and Kentucky should always play. These games should just happen. So let's make those happen and just get back to having college basketball, baby.
I will say, you talking about IU Purdue and those first couple of games this year, but after a year where there weren't fans allowed in the stands, or students especially allowed in the stands at these games, those IU Purdue games this year are going to be at a whole different level than anything I think we've seen before, because it's going to be the excitement of IU having Mike Woodson kind of rebuilding some of that passion with the fan base. Purdue is going to have an extremely good team this year with everyone back. I think those games are going to be, the atmosphere there is just going to be absolutely off the wall.
And Indiana is going to be much, much better. They're going to be much better coached. First of all, they're going to be a much better team. If they only brought the same team back, they would be much better. But they're not going to bring the same team back. They're going to bring a better team back, and it's going to be fun. It's not like they got beat by 30. They didn't. They were just poorly prepared, poorly coached, they have talent. So these games are going to be fun right off the bat. And that's going to follow and lead in from football. Don't forget a successful football season, that it's going to be successful regardless. How successful? I don't know. It could be off the wall. Now everything has to go right. Everybody can, Indiana's going to do it. Nobody knows that Indiana's. I don't know what Indiana's going to do. I don't know that they're going to go to Iowa and win that game. Can they? Yeah, they can. But are they? Well, I can sit there and make the prediction, but that doesn't mean crap at the end of the day. They need to go there and win that game, period. You've got to start that off. If they do that, hey, man, who knows? Seriously, with what Tom Allen has done, there is absolutely nothing that would surprise me now. I would still be wowed, but I'm not surprised any longer by any success that is had by Tom Allen's program. It's unconventional, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. It's working. It has gone on long enough, and you keep seeing it's working. This is not a house of cards. This is not built on transfers and this and that. This is built. He built that from the bottom, and I mean he dug the ground out and laid a new foundation on top of the old and built this up from the bottom up. And it is solid. There's not tricky recruiting. There's none of that junk. It is amazing, and that's why I'm so in on Tom Allen. It's so unconventional. And when he was first hired, Dylan, I always said that was the stupidest hire in the world, which on paper it was. And anybody that knew anything about sports would have said that, because there's no way that works. damn, it worked like nothing's ever seen. It's the only thing that worked. It's crazy, but I love it.
Absolutely. And that's, I'm not sure if you saw the way too early ESPN top 25 that came out yesterday for college football, but they had IU at number 11.
And they had
Iowa at number 14. So
and Cincinnati right behind them is inside of the top 10.
That exactly. IU, that the start of their season this year is going to be extremely difficult. So if they win those games, which obviously no guarantee, those games are tough, and IU is going to have to go out and prove it all over again that they deserve to be up there. But if they win those games, that's going to be the start of something special.
If Michael Penix is back and healthy, I think they're 7-0 when Ohio State comes to Bloomington. If Michael Penix is healthy, and it's going to be tough because you're going to Iowa as his first game back, and it's going to be a road, a tough man. How more of a difficult situation can you put Michael Penix in? His first game back from his second ACL injury, season-ending injury, is not only going to be on the road, it's going to be on the road against a tough conference team at Iowa, not at Rutgers, at Iowa, which will be a sold-out Niall Kinnick Stadium.
Yep.
But I still think that if he's healthy, they go in there and they beat him.
And then they can.
I'm fired up for football already, baby. It's May. Is it May? I'm fired up.
And they can do a little bit of, if they do go win that game, of course, they'll be able to do a little bit of crowing at Gary Barta.
Oh, it's the Barta Bowl.
Just a little bit. Just a little.
Oh, that's going to be, the closer that gets, I'm just waiting for that. The Barta Bowl is going to be, it's going to be all about, but that's not what Tom Allen and Indiana football, they want to stay focused on business, and it is business.
Right.
And it's this game is the next level up from going. I remember, I guess it's 2 years ago now, when we were at Nebraska. I was at that game, and I remember you could see, feel, taste, smell how important that win was to Tom Allen. I mean, he was pissed off afterwards because some things that Nebraska had said that I can't, what's his coach's name? I can't think of the coach's name now.
Frost.
Yeah, it kind of, Indiana felt disparaged a little bit. And Tom Allen, doesn't get mad. I mean, you could tell he was emotional, let's say, and how much that meant. But this is that next step. This is a program that is not down, that is better, that is on the man. All right, you want to show? You got to get this win. Nebraska was nice, but Nebraska's a down program. You got to get this win. I'd sure like to see it happen. Man, how much fun would that be, though? Because Indiana fans have not ever – I went through the Bill Mallory era. That was cool. That was fun. But it was not this. It was not this. That was a upper mid-level team that flirted with some of those. Yeah, they beat Ohio State. I was there when they beat Michigan. Michigan sucked. Michigan was not good. Ohio State sucked. They weren't good. They weren't the Ohio State of today. I can tell you that. This was the next year they beat Ohio State 41-7. So That's where Ohio State was at that time. But I love telling the Lee Corso story when he was there and they were up 7-0 and he stopped the game, called a timeout, stopped the game, had them take a team photo of the team and the scoreboard of Indiana leading at Ohio State 7-0. That's still one of the greatest. I mean, those minds that think like that, they're great. They're great, but I love that stuff. But yeah, it's going to be amazing. And then you're going to have soccer back in the fall more steadily. I like the soccer the 2 semester thing. We were talking about that yesterday with Mike DeCourcy. I like spreading that out. Indiana is, of course, in the middle of the NCAA right now. They play again tomorrow at 6, but I like spreading that out. Football, you get all the bowl games going on and all that stuff in the end of football season. But I am jacked for football season. To see Indiana compete in the Big Ten, it's nuts. I mean, and fun, but it should happen. Every program, you've got to run that rise where you come up, and Indiana just had not done that.
Right.
But it's going to be fun, Dylan.
I mean, and before we even get there, IU baseball is doing extremely well right now, and they
climbed into first.
Yeah, they're a top 25 program. So this is IU athletics right now are about as at the highest level they've been probably in my lifetime overall.
Oh, there's no question, because you got to add IU women's.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Basketball and the soccer program. Van Bennekom was brought in, I think, 3 years ago. He came in from Duke. He's from the Netherlands. That soccer program's not really been much. The women's, they're ranked. So there's 6 programs. Your five major programs: men's, women's football or basketball, football, baseball, men's soccer, add women's soccer. All those programs doing well now. So, hey, we got to take a quick break. You know what that means. When we come back, we get to talk to the great Bob Kravitz. And we'll do that and plenty more from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Any More Honda, right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new... Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Let's see, what are we wearing today?
California Golden Seals.
What the hell is that? A minor league baseball team?
That's an old NHL franchise from back in the 60s.
Damn. Got it.
Oh.
So you're just a hockey guy then. Where are you from?
Oh yeah. The fact that I'm not writing hockey is very, very frustrating.
Where are you from originally?
I grew up in New York, and then we moved to Chicago when I was in high school.
See, I am like my first TV job, Bob, or not my first, but when I was in Louisville, I remember going out and shooting some minor league hockey, and that was back when we had the old TV tripods. You blew them up and the old 1,000-pound cameras. Boy, I went to adjust my camera once, and it was up there, and I lifted that switch, and that whole thing just dropped onto my thumb. I thought I lost a thumb.
No, another hockey injury.
Yep. But then when I was out in Washington State, they had this junior league hockey team, and people loved this, but I knew dick about hockey. All I knew was he crossed the blue line. He shoots, he scores. That was it. That was my entire hockey vernacular back then. I was like, what's this hockey thing?
Offsides. Ice.
Yeah. I knew the words, but I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's like soccer. I had to learn all the soccer stuff when my daughter played. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that offsides is stupid. I said, that's the defense's fault. Let them catch him.
Exactly. Hey, just so you know, I got a piece that just came out on Woods, and me and Doyle and Bozich had to sit down with Woodson yesterday, and we just kind of shot the shit for a couple minutes. So that's up now.
That's great. We'll talk about that. We were just talking about the differences between IU, Purdue recruiting, how they're taking some different paths, things of that nature, but that would be perfect to add.
Okay.
Have you gotten out and seen anything that's going on? I know you don't do a lot of that, the tournaments, AAU and all that crap.
No, I don't.
Man, you lucky son of a bitch.
Coming back.
Gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty, Indie Home Pros.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday. Dylan Sinn with me from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, of course. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joins Robert. How is it going?
It's going great, man. How are you?
I cannot complain. It's not raining today. It looks like there's sun out there, so that's better. Spring is closer. It's getting warmer.
We'll be golf later today.
Oh, really? That's where are you headed?
I think Prairie View about 321 to be specific.
Where is Prairie View? I've heard of that course.
Great course in Carmel, like 126 in River. Yeah, it's a great track. I'm a member over there. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard about that, so it should be a nice day for that as that season is rolling around. But the sports season doesn't stop, and we've been talking with Kyle Neddenriep earlier, and it seems like this is about as a busy a time other than when IU was going through the coaching change and NCAA. But man, it's just extraordinarily busy right now with recruiting and transfers and AAU all-star games, proms. May is nuts.
It is. There's a lot to do, and you've also got the Pacers. To the degree anybody still cares, they're hanging on for dear life in the 9th playoff spot, so they'll very likely be in the play-in tournament to get into the playoffs. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and of course the Colts just completed their draft. So yeah, busy time.
Speaking of the draft, a lot of talk of that. They took their edge rusher, which was one of the options, but they used all 3 picks. They did not take a tackle of any sort. That's still something that they are going to have to work through. And so some surprise there. Were you surprised at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought they would look, maybe they didn't have a pick in the 3rd round, but I thought maybe in the 4th round they'd look offensive tackle. Instead, they went with a tight end, kind of a pass-catching tight end. But, they've got Eric Fisher coming in for a look, I think, today. And Charles Leno, who played for Chicago for quite some time, he's going to get a look. So, at this point, all they need is a competent left tackle. When you pair them up with the 4 other guys they have on that line, competent is good enough. They don't need a Pro Bowler at the left tackle. That would be nice if they could find one, but those guys don't grow on trees. So I was surprised they didn't go after one in the draft, but they do have the money to spend, and I think they're going to spend it on either Eric Fisher or Charles Leno.
Yeah, I think that that's something. If you have the money, then it's probably easier to get one get someone that that you have confidence in now. You don't have to worry about learning and all of that, especially if you're a quarterback that you like that a lot better. Let's see. Indiana basketball, we've been talking a lot about recruiting. Purdue continues to pull in Indiana players. Braden Smith, the latest of those guys to be offered and to go on. But Indiana, new coaching change. Mike Woodson, you had an opportunity to sit down and talk with him.
Yeah, yesterday, J.D. Campbell, their PR, or SID, I should say, sat me, Doyle, and Rick Bozich from Louisville down with I would say Archie, with Mike, and we had a nice discussion for about 45 minutes. We just popped a couple of questions away and got to know him a little bit more about his family and his vision, and it was very interesting. And if you go on to The Athletic now, I have a column up on our talk with Mike Woodson. Archie's gone, Bob.
Well, I was laughing earlier because it may have come from that interview, but I think someone asked him about books that were behind him.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, those were books Archie was reading."
Right.
And I just started laughing. I'm like, going, man, I just started laughing at that moment and shaking my head.
Yeah, the only thing that belonged to him was a congratulations card from his aunt and uncle. Everything else was a book left over by Archie. So, maybe Mike's too busy to decorate, or maybe he just doesn't care much about interior decoration.
And minus what I know what you're using for your own content, what came out of that meeting, the vibe, anything that you want to talk about?
Well, just the momentum that's building. Look, you don't win Big Ten basketball games in May, but I think that if you had any questions about him coming in, and I was one who had some concerns. I think he's allayed some of those concerns by the people he surrounded himself with, and the fact that he was able to keep Trace Jackson Davis, and he went into some depth talking about how he kept Trace Jackson Davis. And I thought he did it the right way. He showed the young man everything that he couldn't do well. Instead of putting a tape on showing him dunking with his left hand, he showed him all the moves all the points that he left on the floor because he doesn't have a right hand and because he doesn't have a perimeter game. And to Jackson Davis's great credit, he said, yes, that's what I need. If I want to go to the next level, those are the things I need to really concentrate upon. And he got him to stay for one more year. So I think they've built up a nice little bit of momentum here in the first 5 weeks or so that Woody's been in charge.
Dylan?
From that conversation, Bob, what do you get as an impression for what the next steps are to keep that momentum going? Because obviously that's the most important thing for a new coach is once you have the momentum, how do you make sure that you keep it going outside of winning basketball games? Because that's always going to be the most important.
Well, I just think internal development is where it's at. And that's the one thing that I think drove us crazy about Archie Miller's teams is that guys didn't seem to get much better once they got here. I thought Armand Franklin before he got hurt showed a nice bit of improvement from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Unfortunately, he's gone now to Virginia. But the guys generally, you think about a Rob Finney or an Al Durham, those guys didn't really develop. And so I think the internal development program that Woody's going to set up, I think it's going to be incredibly important for this team moving forward.
Fan-wise, what can Indiana fans expect to see on the floor differently? And I know you don't have all of these answers, but last 4 years, it has been a very muted kind of a team and no freedom. And that's been part of what's have stagnated these guys. And I think that's one of the things they're excited about. The development, of course, you've alluded to that as well, but just being able to have more fun because it seems like there wasn't a lot of fun happening.
No, I think they'll play more up tempo. I think they'll play more NBA style, more 5 out or 4 and 1 out. I think they'll play more like what we see in the NBA all the time. I think a lot of dribble drives, breaking your defender down off the dribble, kicking it out to a guy. I think we'll see more threes or 3 attempts. Whether they go in or not is another question. But I do think some of the new guys, especially Kopp, do have the ability to make the shot from the perimeter. So I think we're going to see an untethered offense, something a lot more free flowing than what we saw with Archie.
Dylan?
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. We've seen several times IU has kind of tweeted out from the official basketball account video of their practices, and every single video they have Trace Jackson Davis making an outside shot, and they have guys hitting 3-pointers. And a couple days ago, they even tweeted something of, "We're all practicing free throws. See, we're all practicing free throws."
Well, that was in response to people complaining about that, which was funny.
Yes.
There was a ton of comments because they kept putting out the Cliff Marshall flexing stuff, and they're like, I don't want to see this. I want to see him shooting free throws. I want to see him shooting jumpers. So they said, all right, how's this? And they put that out. It was very funny.
But that goes back to your point, Bob, about the next thing is player development. And it seems like these are the things that they're working on that are going to be emphasized this offseason that weren't weren't emphasized in the past, but it didn't show up on the court.
It didn't show up in the court. Yeah, I've always said, look, I'm sure that Archie made, every effort to develop these guys. I mean, I would think that seems to be job one of a head basketball coach. But for whatever reason, it never showed up on the floor. Now, a lot of that is the types of guys that you're bringing in. And he never brought in a shooter. There's 20 guys at the Hyper building right now who can hit that shot, that 15 to 22-foot shot, and they can't get a single one on this roster. But I think they've got some more guys now who can make that shot. I think it's going to be really important for Jackson Davis to get some confidence in that perimeter shot, and we'll go from there.
What else is going on with you? I know that you've always got something in the till, in the copper. Of course, that was a big one, meeting with Mike Woodson, and that'll be coming out today. Is that out today?
Yeah, that's out right now. Just got posted. I wrote a piece yesterday. It was kind of interesting. Bo Borowski, the official, who everybody seems to dislike, especially at Michigan State, he kept a diary for me during the NCAA tournament, and so that story is up on the website, on the athletic website. So I hope you'll take a look at it. It's kind of his observations as told to me after spending 29 days in a hotel in downtown Indianapolis, and I think it's pretty damn interesting.
I laugh every time I hear, not Bo Borowski, but there was a Saturday Night Live skit they did with John Goodman, and the last name was so close to that. Really? It always refer to Borowski. And next time we're on, I'll have to get John, and we'll find that clip. That's more than why. But John, I can't help thank you enough. I hope you have a great day out on the links, man. Don't lose them all.
I won't. I'll keep a couple.
Anything else we need to know about that's happening?
Nothing much. Pacers have a big game coming up, I guess, Saturday against Washington. And, of course, there's talk now that, that Bjorkgren might be in trouble after
I was going to ask about that because I saw that. I'm like, man, it's kind of funny. You ship, what's his name, off to Atlanta, and he's doing fine. Yeah, McMillan, he's doing fine. And now your replacement, and that's not a good look.
It's not a good look. That means that you did a really, really poor job of picking out a head coach. Especially after you let go of a head coach who I thought did a perfectly legitimately good job.
And a lot of other people did too.
Yeah, and now he's he's the interim coach of the year for sure, and he might be a coach of the year. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks are 4th or 5th. I haven't looked lately, but they were terrible under Lloyd Pierce, and then Nate McMillan comes in, and they're taking off and playing great basketball. At one point, they were 20-7 under McMillan. So this is a bad look. I don't think he'll get whacked at the end of the year, but it's interesting that it's just 1 year and he's already getting crosswise with people. And I think you have to look at the players too. The players chafed under Nate McMillan, and now apparently they're having a hard time getting along with Nate Bjorkgren. So, at some point we have to look at the players and say, what's up with them?
Yeah. One last time, Chris asked again, cause I forgot what's on your hat. I know.
Oh, the California Golden Seals. They play in the NHL in the 60s and 70s.
There you go, brother. The California Golden Seals, a classic throwback. Throwback every Wednesday here. NHL throwback. Bob, cannot thank you enough. Mr. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. I'm a subscriber. Have a great day, brother.
All right, man. Be good.
Thank you. Bob Kravitz joining us here from The Athletic on Indiana Sports Beat. We got more coming up, and we'll be back to it from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or
Hey, also, I didn't get to tell you before the show because we kind of everyone showed up pretty right on time. But I also have the voices done for the intro and outro, so you don't have to say the coming back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, all that kind of stuff. Whenever you're ready to start using those.
Need to deepen that. Is there any way to deepen though, or they need to be a little more fuller sounding?
You talk about what the echo,
bassier. Yeah, less that, more bass.
Yeah, I'll toy with it a little bit. I know they sounded a little funky, but I wanted to try it out today and see.
Well, they don't sound funky. It just sounds like you talking into a microphone.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, like sitting in a corner of your room just talking into a microphone instead of you need to be in a room like a closet, first of all.
Yeah.
That'll kill all your sound. There you'll have no, take the microphone into I wish my studio was in my walk-in closet. That is the deadest sound. It is, man, you talk about studio quality sound. It is like boom.
Like, I like having the hardwood floor in the house, but I didn't realize how big of an issue hardwood flooring was going to be with this kind of stuff, honestly.
Well, yeah,
that's what everything's bouncing off of.
Rugs, brother, rugs. But again, all you need is have you built a mic box?
No, I need to figure out what exactly to do to build a mic box.
All you do is you take some cardboard, like 3 sides of a cardboard box, and you put some foam or anything in it. Oh, you can put a freaking pillow in it. Anything that that will just absorb the sound around the microphone.
I'll have to give that a shot then. I need to get some cardboard or find some cardboard. I'm sure we got plenty of it around here. Yeah,
just Google that. It's a very simple thing. Bill Brasky. That's it. I once saw him scissor kick Angela Lansbury. Damn it, that's what I was looking for. That's freaking hilarious. That reminds me of Bo Borowski.
Coming back.
All right, what is his name?
To your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It is Wednesday. We have made it through the halfway point. My man, Dylan Sinn, is here with me. It's been an easy week so far. It should be an easy rest of the week. Nothing crazy going on. I think that the crazy is settling down, and it's now just turning into summer. But that means lots of stuff going on. Little League Baseball to get kicked in again. Hey, how about that? No Little League Baseball last year.
Yeah. They announced the World Series is happening in Williamsport this year. So they are back.
That. Man, think about all the stuff we did not have last year that we're going to get to do. Man. And I'm worried that it's going to create everybody doing it at the same time. They're going to jack the gas prices up when no one was going anywhere. It's going to be like $4 a daggone gallon. But you can't complain about that, right? Just to be able to get out. But Tony hit us up on the Bill Brasky. Man, if I could, I can't. I've got to get to where I can play clips too, John. But that every time I hear Bo Borowski, I think of that Saturday Night Live clip, and it cracks me up. There's just several of them where they played that role. But funny stuff. Let's see. Chris said he saw the kids practicing the other day out at Warren Little League. Got excited. Yep, they're out there. I've seen the lights on at all kinds of little places I did not know had little baseball fields. I'm like, there's a baseball field back there? The lights are coming on in different places. Great to see. So it's just great to see that because that's for the kids getting to get back out. Man, I can't imagine not getting to play Little League Baseball. It's just one of those things. It's a rite of passage. I can remember everything about Little League Baseball. T-League on up. It's the one sport, at least back then, it was the only sport you could play as a kid, way when I was really, really young. They didn't have that many leagues as they do now, which, hell, now there's a league for everything. If you're not on a travel league for something, you're behind. What's going on with you right now, Dylan?
Well, I'm staying on the theme of baseball. The Fort Wayne Tin Caps, the high A baseball team here in Fort Wayne, had their opening day last night. They won 8-0. They beat the West Michigan Whitecaps. And so they have their season getting underway here. So that's been my main focus here over the last week or so. And that's exciting because they didn't have a season all of last year. We missed them here in Fort Wayne. We missed minor league baseball. And the fans are able to get out to the ballpark right now. They have about 3,000 capacity and 8,000 person stadium. So that's kind of exciting to kind of get some people out, and they're going to increase the capacity later on. So that's exciting as well. So that's what's going on with me.
Well, here's from Chris, hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. He says, one of the main things that Woody needs to be able to do is somehow lock down northern Indiana, especially Fort Wayne in the region, where kids have consistently gone to Purdue or Michigan State. Well, I think the Michigan State issue has been resolved to a degree with Dane Fife coming to Bloomington. There's a big part of that right there. That's the guy that has probably plucked all those guys out, plus the fact that Michigan State has been good because they have Tom Izzo, and Indiana's been in flux. So there's two key pieces that'll help change that. The region, that's always been a flip-flop, man. I mean, Purdue's closer. It's geographical. You expect that. Just like the South, Purdue has no luck in the South until now. But that's going to end. That won't happen again. That's going to be a fleeting time, I think. But yeah, it's just some of that's logistical. But yeah, sometimes you got to get the best, man. If the best player is in Gary West, in Washington, that's who you have to get.
And I mean, to Chris's point, Fort Wayne, they're the best players out of Fort Wayne in recent years have really not even given IU a look. Caleb Swanigan and Caleb First are two of the best guys that have come out of here in the last couple of years. They never really considered IU that heavily at all. They're both ended up at Purdue. Keon Brooks from Fort Wayne, he transferred to La Lumiere his senior year. He ended up at Kentucky. Now, they were in on him because he was really good friends with Trace Jackson Davis. They played on the same AAU team. They didn't even get him. So they have not really had a foothold up here in Fort Wayne for a while, and that's something that, to Chris's point, is actually going to be very important.
Yep. And here's something else different than that I forgot to, Renata points out. Unfortunately, since Little League was canceled, her friend's grandson was not able to possibly be in it. They probably would have represented Indiana, I'm assuming last year. She was talking about like the 12-year-old Little League World Series. It didn't happen last year. Yeah, that sucks. Man, when you're on one of those teams that's that good, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's when you're 12 because that's going to be an all-star team made of 12-year-olds, and yeah, that's sad. So that sucks, but hate to see that. Hopefully it comes around and something else comes his way. Let's see. Jalen Washington all day. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it shakes out. I'm quite excited about how things are headed all the way around. It's about the long term. It's not about this moment, but it's going to come probably quicker than probably asked. But you just got to have managed expectations too. But things turn fast nowadays, and the people that are able to do it quickly, that puts pressure on other people and other programs, other schools. When you see teams in conference, when you see Juwan Howard go to Michigan and that hire be so scoffed at, and for it to work out to perfection, pressure.
Right. And that's the thing, is that we've seen year one is going to be tough for Mike Woodson, obviously, coming off trying to rebuild everything after 5 years missing the tournament in a row. But we've seen coaches take over programs and win big in year two, even. Mick Cronin took UCLA to the Final Four this year in his first year as coach. Now, he didn't have a completely second year. So, exactly. So, we've seen.
But he had them in contention for the Pac-12 in his first year.
Right. And it's not like he took over a completely bare cupboard there at UCLA, but he got them almost immediately. And that to me was one of those things where, so one of the main arguments for keeping Archie was that IU fans need to be patient, right? But it had been 4 years and there wasn't evidence of improvement. And so what were they supposed to be patient about? Because it's not like they were like, oh, some of the national writers were talking about, well, the IU fans are not content with incremental improvement to a long-term goal. But the incremental improvement wasn't even happening. So I didn't understand that.
Yeah, it's not. And those are people that are not even close to around what's going on at the program, and the pulse and the state, the feeling. So yeah, no one cares what they think. But what's coming up next for you, brother? We're about out of time here on the radio side. What's going on with you next? People need to know about.
Yep, pretty much just covering the Tin Caps baseball. That is my summer beat. That is what I do. I'm a baseball guy until fall football camp starts in August.
Well, I'm going to be a basketball guy and a football guy and a baseball guy and all kinds of stuff. This weekend, it's both, I guess. Rivals camp at Ben Davis High School. It's the top 150 in the country. So it's going to be some incredible talent out there. Looking forward to that, and we'll talk more about that. But man, I can't thank you enough as always. And make sure you give Dylan a follow at Dylan Sinn on Twitter, and we'll see you again next week, brother.
Absolutely, Jim. Always glad to do it. Thanks for having me on.
I was, of course, and for everybody else, big thanks, of course, to our friend Bob Kravitz, Kyle Neddenriep. Make sure you follow those guys as well. We'll keep on top of everything, and make sure you wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.